So to get started, let's have each of them introduce themselves. Tell us how long you've been in the program or not been in the program, and tell us what, maybe where your focus is, and then a little bit about yourselves. Yeah, let's start with you, Matt.
So I'm Matt Bird. I'm a second year PhD student. This is my fourth semester, and I'm in the second language acquisition track, which is really unique. And I'm really sad that Seahawks lost in the playoffs.
I'm Jackie Johnson. I just finished the master's in the fall. I started the PhD program, so I've been in it about 2.5 years. And my focus for my master's was research and evaluation, but now I'm thinking about doing more design stuff, and I want to do museum exhibit design.
I'm Ben Nielsen. I'm a second year master's student, so this is my fourth semester. My focus is in online learning and informal learning, and yeah, doing a project with Dr. Graham and hopefully finishing up soon. And no intention of being a PhD student.
My name is Michael Matthews. I am a second year PhD student, I think. I started in the fall of 2012, so many semesters under my belt. My focus is on instructional design and development. I'm particularly interested in course design, and I'm working with Dr. Yancha on my dissertation this very semester.
Jared?
Oh yeah, so I feel kind of like a super senior here. I graduated 2.5 years ago from your department, obviously. I'm now at George Mason University, and I mostly focus my research efforts on preparing teachers to teach online, but also how to support K-12 students in an online environment.
Great, thanks, Jared. So now we'll open it up for questions. If you're here live, you can raise your hand or post online. If you're in the online environment, you can feel free to chat it to McKay, and he'll be monitoring those. Or
they can just say.
Or if you have a question, you can raise your hand as well, and we'll be watching. So the floor is open for you. Matt?
Me? So one of the next steps I'm looking at is like with the projects and stuff, and so I assume each of you has had some experience in projects. What was one of the biggest things that you would avoid if you were to do your project again?
The entire project.
Everybody says that.
I guess you're talking PhD projects
Yeah.
or master's thesis?
I guess either one, but for me, PhD project.
And you cannot say not working with Dr. privately.
I would say, the project is bigger than you think it is. So whatever it is, you think oh, this is easy, and it's bigger than you think. So try and really work your scope out. Do that with your advisor. Figure out what the scope of the project should be, because it will get more involved than you think initially.
Or for a PhD project, if you're going to let it make it 2 projects and a dissertation.
You want to build an online gaming environment.
Yeah. A lot of work.
I'll share something about mine. My master's project was a design development project. We made a faculty development learning community for the CTL. And the project went great, except that during development we hit kind of a bottleneck that I maybe could have anticipated if I had taken the project management class before I did my project. So that's a plug for the project management class, and also a plug for careful planning and consideration at all the phases of your project?
I would like second the planning thing, but I have had an interesting experience in the program where it's like, boom, get a job and do your master's project, write your prospectus in 4 days. So like, it was really intense. It's doable, but I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. I would say give yourself as much time as you need to do a good job. Not that it's a bad job, but it would have been nice to have more time. To do that. It was great.
And Jared for the win.
Yeah, I would agree with what's been said, what I could hear anyway. I think it definitely needs to be feasible, but it shouldn't be a distraction from what your goals are. Just because something's easy to do doesn't mean it's necessarily going to help you reach your goals. So preferably, it'd be, if you're in the PhD program, it'd be something that would be moving you forward towards your dissertation. When I was in the program, you could count one of your projects towards your dissertation if you're doing an alternative dissertation format. And so you definitely want to take advantage of that. And then even your second project could be related to whatever you're interested in. So with me, I did a research project, then I also did an evaluation project at the location where I planned on doing my dissertation.
Thanks.
Good question.
We have an online question from Cat Farmer. So this is for the
I'm lazy.
PhD students. So Jared, Matt, Michael.
And Jared.
Jackie,
Oh, yeah.
I'm an
Sorry.
imposter, but
You said you graduated with your master's, so I forgot. What do you hope a PhD will do for you that you couldn't have done with just a master's?
I'll say the first thing that comes to my mind and hope that it's useful to you. Access. I want to work in higher education, and a PhD is the coin of the realm, as they say. You can do work with a master's degree in higher education. There are fine people. Scott Schaefer at the CTL, for example, has a master's from our department. Does great work. I wanted to do lots of great work. So I went for a PhD, because I want to be able to work in higher education and didn't want to have any limitations as far as what my education was going to be for me. That's one answer. There are others, but
For me, it's just the chance to keep learning and learning about different topics. So I did research and evaluation, but not very much design development at all. And so I wanted to have a chance to look at those things as well and just be more well-rounded.
Yeah, I would echo what Michael said. I plan on working in higher education. Yeah. Also, when I applied to the program, it was a little bit of a unique situation. I was applying to different types of programs than just IP&T. And so it was, for me, it was kind of an all or nothing thing for IP&T.
Jared, any insight?
I don't think I have much to add. I taught 6 years in public education, and during that time I actually earned my master's degree, and it was portfolio based. So I hadn't really done much research. I was definitely interested in that, and I was actually trying to collect data while I was teaching, and I remember bringing that to Dr. Graham, and he politely said, "This is useful, but not anything we can really publish on." So it's probably helpful to you, but really understanding the larger discussions that were going on and the frameworks that you can use to do research is really helpful for me. So that's what I was really looking for.
and I'll add something after that.
Yeah, and Jackie mentioned this too, but just, I kind of foresaw that this field was too big for me to get what I wanted out of it in 2 years. And I wanted to dig deeper into some issues and become, an expert on something. And 4 years with a PhD, I'm hoping will give me a good enough start to launch a career, researching and investigating areas of the field.
And like Jackie, I got my master's in our department and then stuck around for the PhD. And I found that there was just more that I wanted to learn. Actually, it's not very ambitious or strategic of me, but I stuck around also because there was more I wanted to learn, and I knew I wanted to get the PhD anyways. and I have learned lots, so it works.
Because he likes Soup Wednesday.
Also, free lunch on Wednesday. There's been jokes in the past about it's like a homeless soup kitchen kind of thing, or a jobless soup kitchen.
He couldn't afford lunch 5 days a week.
So instead he paid for.
He paid tuition to do it.
So, I can only do lump sum, I can't do recurring.
Make sure you get
$1
lunch for
menu
tuition.
Wendy's is way too much. It just sounds like a budgeting course in this program.
It's cut arrangement, I can't say details.
Jared, we have a question specifically for you, well, mostly. How did your dissertation focus dictate your current job, or what jobs you could get?
I don't know if I heard that. How did my dissertation help me get my current position?
How did your dissertation choice affect what job you could get, or the focus of your job?
Yeah, so I would say one thing that probably had the biggest impact on me getting the interviews I wanted when I was on the job market was that I did the 3-article dissertation format. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but I did 3, and that was really helpful because I had something to present on and something to talk about. People commented quite a bit that, you know, I was at one university and they said they had over 90 applicants, but I was selected because, for 2 reasons. One is because I already had publications, more publications than most, graduating, and 2, I had met him at ACT. So one thing that you really want to do is not only publish, but also share that research out at conferences. I think ACT is a great conference to go to meet people. They have a job board, but also just being willing to shake hands. Shake as many hands as you can, apply for, they have student awards and they have other things like that where you can get recognized at conferences. So anything like that is just great. And that's really what's going to make you stand out.
Great, thank you.
6'8".
John Thomas's question. John Thomas is raising his hand.
Oh. John Thomas has a question. John, you can go ahead and just unmute and say something.
Okay, Mike, you mentioned the project management class. I'm just curious, like other classes that aren't the core classes that you each have felt have given you the most bang for your buck, or have been a surprise to you as far as how it's helped you get down the road, pursuing your end goal?
Is the question for just me or the whole panel?
Everyone. Yeah, everyone.
I will ponder this.
So, one of the things that I'm interested in is museums, right? And there isn't a great class in our department for museums. We could certainly have one, but we don't really have one that's like focuses on museums. So I went and found a class in museums from anthropology. I took that, and so if you are interested in like something that's connected to the field, but that we don't have a specific class in, it's good to go out and look for it. For those interested in museums, I'm actually going to put together like a document that kind of maps out where you can go for stuff about informal learning. But that was a really good experience. So Christian, Spring, and I and Mark Ware, we all took that class this last semester.
And classes that you take outside of our department like this can be written into your program of study as long as your advisor and your committee and everything approves it. That's no trouble at all. I've done that with a couple of other classes outside of our department as well. Since I'm already talking, I also took a couple of classes outside of the department. I sat in on an experience design class in the recreation management department. I took a public program evaluation class from the Romney Institute of Public Management here at BYU. And those have been useful for skill sets and for content areas that I particularly wanted. But within our department, non-core ones, project management's probably number one on the list. And I'll have to think of some others, one of the other panels.
I really liked advanced qualitative research. I was working on my master's project at the time, so it was great to come every week and just talk to other people about my project and the things that they were working on. And advanced evaluation was really great too. And when we each picked an evaluator that we wanted to learn more about their approach to evaluation, and we can report to the class about that each week.
I echo some of the same things. So I'm doing a second language acquisition route. That's kind of where I came from. So when I came to IPT, I didn't want to like throw out my undergrad and start just with instructional design. What's really nice is that I get to take what I learned here in a lot of my classes and bridge them over into a very specific content field. And I found that to be very useful. So consider your undergrad or another area that you've been interested in, and maybe just take a class that's somewhat related to what you're learning here, maybe in education or something, and you'll find there's lots of room for applying what you do here at IPT.
Jared, do you have any thoughts?
What exactly was the question? I don't know if I heard it.
Are there any classes outside of the core acquired classes in our department that you found to be particularly useful?
Yeah, I mean, one thing you need to recognize is that in your department, you really have some leaders in the field in certain areas, and so you want to take courses from them. I mean, that is such an amazing opportunity to you know, learn from the best. So even if you're not like super interested in OER or something, well, David Wiley is teaching a class. I mean, that's such a huge opportunity to learn from him. And that's one regret I had, is it wasn't completely aligned with what I'm working towards, but right now it's something I deal with all the time, or it's something that's really a big part of my job. And so I wish I would have taken that, or, you know, blended learning from Dr. Graham, or online learning from Dr. Graham. And any of those things, you just need to make sure that you're making the best of those opportunities. And one other thing I'd say is devotional is sometimes not convenient, but I would definitely make an effort to go and attend devotional. You're at BYU, that's going to be a great experience, a spiritual experience for you that you can only have at BYU.
I say amen to that. Maybe you can get something going at George Mason.
Yeah, right.
All right, any other questions? We've got one online. What do you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your studies?
Still don't know.
I'll say that Dr. West gave a presentation with almost that same title my first semester coming in. And one thing that he talked about was just making use of your course projects. So I thought that was really helpful. So a lot of times you might be taking a qualitative research class, and you might be collecting interviews or transcribing them, which is terribly painful, and then analyzing it. But instead of just picking something that's easy, maybe be a little more thoughtful about your projects and approach the instructor and say, you know, is this a topic that's interesting to you? Is this something that we could work together on, or maybe prepare an article for a publication? It might not be a tier 1 publication, but just is it worth it to kind of pursue and to publish on? And I was really glad I heard that, because I was able to do that in a couple of my classes. And sometimes in one instance, I started a project in Intro to Qual and then finished it in Advanced Qualitative Research. And then I was able to publish that in a pretty good journal. So just being pretty strategic as far as the courses that you take and and how you can leverage those projects.
Yeah, if I were to say what I have a better sense of now than what I did when I started, was strategy, vision for what I'm gonna do for my career and for everything. That's something that has evolved over time for me, definitely. And, you know, can't rush the process, the Lord's hand is in it. But the more you know and the better vision you have coming into the program, the more you can be like Jared and turn it to, you know, turn everything towards those ends and make the most of your time. Now, I still think I did okay despite not having a totally clarified vision. But the more you can have of that, the better your strategy can be, the better spent your time will be.
And a plug for Dr. West's lit review class. I'm in it right now, so I still haven't learned a ton, but I didn't really understand what it meant to write a good lit review or how to analyze journals for their rigor, impact, and prestige, but I have a better sense of how to look at journals critically and how to look at the methodology that people use when they were doing their lit reviews and their research. So I can see like, oh, this really should have been done better, and I can't replicate that study, and so there's a better sense of the quality of things.
This is pretty simple, but when I came into the department, the handbook wasn't really together, because I wasn't here. But now I would definitely use that, because I think I spent a lot of time and anxiety, like, worried about like details of the course because things weren't super clear. And now they're a lot more clear. You just go to the handbook and you can figure out what it is. So use that to your advantage and don't waste your time being worried about timing and requirements and stuff.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this.
Okay, great. Floor is open for another question.
I want to know what jobs you're pursuing, and,
Why are you looking at me, why you say?
well, I know you're close, I know you're close. This would not be for Jared, because he's got a job.
Unless he has
Both
another
of you
job.
are, I mean, you're just starting the PhD program, I don't know, I don't think, are you looking right now? So I want to know what jobs you're looking for, and what you've done to kind of help gear yourself towards, you know, being able to be productive in those areas.
Ladies first.
So, like you said, I am just kind of starting PhD, but I'm switching direction, so I want to do museum exhibit design. So I contacted the Museum of Idaho to see about an internship for this summer, and also the Museum of Peoples and Cultures. I talked to them and contacted the Bean Museum, so, and Conceiving Point. So I'm trying to figure out where I can get some experience and the classes that I mentioned about museums.
So I'm, my background is in Arabic language, and I'm interested in teaching at the university level in Arabic, but also as a professor you get to do research in what you're interested in. And I'm interested in game-based learning, and how that motivates students to get involved in learning a language. And so there are a few places I've looked at that are interested in serious gaming or game-based education. And I've looked at postdoctoral programs and opportunities at those universities with certain professors that are, you know, leaders in that field. That's about as far as I've gone right now, just sending out feelers to those professors and saying, I'm interested in this. Maybe I'll see you at a conference kind of thing.
So those are professors in Arabic who are also interested in game-based learning, or professors in game-based learning who?
Professors who are in game-based learning, but at universities that have
Arabic program.
So that's a pretty specific. Yeah. I'm also interested in the private sector as well, though. DLI, the Defense Language Institute for the United States government, has a lot of technology investment in language learning, so there's opportunities there. But also in looking at both academia, but also in private sector.
The whole time that I've been a student, I've been working either as a teacher here at BYU or at UVU adjunct. I've also been taking design and development jobs. I work with Dr. Graham on the Blended Learning Initiative. I work for the CTL for my master's project. Right now I'm working for LDS Business College, helping to design some of their online courses. I did an internship one summer with BYU Independent Study. So the whole time, I guess, I have been gaining some experience in the things that I love, teaching and design and development. And that's basically where I'm headed also, is teaching and design and development. Right now I've applied for, let me think, a CTL consultant type kind of job that involves instructional design, and 2 or 3 instructional design jobs, instructional designer kind of jobs. I've had interviews with Utah State and UVU, and am eager to hear good news from one of the people. I've got about 5 lines in the water right now, but those kinds of jobs, design and development, and sometimes the jobs even allow for a teaching component too, like being a CTL consultant, sometimes they let you teach also. That's really interesting to me, so that works.
So I would definitely go with what Michael says, but to go get experience, I have such a wide variety of interests that I've taken kind of the shotgun approach to job hunting. And I've applied for a lot of different positions in a lot of different places. I'm interested in formal learning, so museums and libraries. And so I got an internship with Thanksgiving Point, and I started working here at this library, started volunteering with the public library to get experience in those fields. I took a class where we did a real museum project to kind of figure out if I like those things and to kind of put some stuff on my resume having to do with them. So I've applied for some jobs with some libraries. I've also applied for some jobs that are CTL type jobs. Been interviewed for a couple of those. And yeah, so I'm just putting a lot of different stuff out there on some offers, and I'm also going to be doing some contract work, building some courses. So a lot of different things. Just go get experience and try and be more focused than myself.
You see the one about the user experience librarian? You see that?
I was introducing it.
Casey,
McKay, how do I turn this on?
There's
Press the
the
mute.
top, there's a little power button
On the top?
below the little display.
Okay, there we go. I tried pushing it. Okay, this builds on the last question, but I think it's been said in this department that the 2 of the biggest things that keep students from graduating or making progress at a sufficient rate are 1, the golden handcuffs, and 2, not deciding on a thesis, dissertation, or project topic. And so it's kind of 2 questions. How have you handled the golden handcuff situation, which is being able to get a job that eventually turns into a full-time thing and then it delays your graduation because you have this great job that pays well, but you haven't finished your program yet, and that kind of thing. And then also the second question of how do you quickly decide on a dissertation or thesis topic so that you can continue to make progress and not get bogged down by those 2 things?
I think I had bronze-plated handcuffs, so I don't.
Solid.
Bronze-plated.
Considering you worked with Charles. No, I'm just kidding.
Like I said, I was definitely stressed out about money coming in and how was I going to pay for this. I didn't want to take out a lot of loans, and so I was very grateful to have all the opportunities to work. It feels like if you want to work, there's definitely hours available. And I was lucky enough to start teaching my first semester. The integration of technology courses for elementary school teachers, and also ended up teaching at psych and some other things. But they were always a means to the end. I mean, I think one mistake that I made was I wanted to finish too quickly at some times and maybe cut some corners. Luckily, through some good mentoring, I didn't do those things, but I don't know, I didn't really have have the temptation to stick around too long.
I'll share an experience. This past summer, I applied for a job with LDS Business College, a full-time position, and made it into the interviews, the final interviews and everything. And then an idea for the dissertation came together. An opportunity presented itself where I could work on something that I was really interested in, that was actionable, that was coming right away, but meant I wouldn't really be able to work on it at the same time as having a full-time job. So I had to respectfully withdraw from the interview process for this full-time job so that I could focus on the dissertation and get that done. I wanted that to be my priority. So if you're applying for jobs, you might end up applying for jobs that you withdraw from if you end up in a bind like I did. So be careful about when you apply for jobs and things. But the other thing about the dissertation and how to move quickly would be, I would say, to find something that you really care about. There are lots of opportunities in the department, lots of cool things going on, and you might be tempted to just like pick up somebody else's idea and run with it. But if you don't care about the idea deeply yourself, you will grow to hate it.
Even if you do care about it.
You
That's
still-
what Dr. West said. It's proven very true.
So you need to care. You need to look at yourself and find out what you're really interested in. I'm like Ben, where I feel like I have lots of different interests, but like a Venn diagram, I can find an area where they all overlap, and that's the intersection where I want to be at. And so finding that is the most important thing for me to move forward quickly with my dissertation.
Grad student uses Venn diagrams.
It's visual recognition.
So for me, I did my master's project at the CTL on a new software that they created for a statistics class, and I wanted to do an evaluation project for my master's, and they wanted this software to be evaluated, and it was also my internship credit for the PhD, so all kind of overlapped, which was super nice. And I felt like it was a valuable project because they were going to be using it, and they've already improved the software a ton based on the research that I did for them. So I think it's a valuable idea that they're developing for their, not something I'm super passionate about, but I cared enough about it to make it worthwhile for me and for them. And I did my second doctoral project with them as well on using that software in a course. But now I'm realizing I want to do something that I am more passionate about, so I'm trying to figure out where that is.
Does that help answer your question?
I guess I have something to say too. So this ties into some of the other questions, but I guess getting a feel for the whole department and everything that each professor or each area of specialization has to bring to what you're interested in. Like I had a pretty good idea when I came into the program what I wanted to do, but I wasn't very sure what my research question would be. Those kind of things that question has materialized and solidified as I've been exposed to lots of perspectives from the professors and kind of realized what was most important and what methods I could use to answer that question. So having something at the beginning of the program, even if it's just a very rudimentary idea like how do I get someone interested in language learning, as I've gone through all my classes, they add something to that question and make it more clear what I'm going to do for that project.
Just kind of add on that, I found that the people that really struggled to finish the program were those that started the program with a very specific question in mind that they wanted to answer, but then no one in the department was really an expert in that or was necessarily even interested in that. And so hopefully you pick this program because of the work that's been done or is being done, and so then you can leverage that. The other bit of advice that I got that was terrible before I started was a family member who had earned his PhD decades ago, and he said, you want to pick a topic that your committee doesn't know anything about, because then you can pull the wool over their eyes, basically, And then you're the expert and they're not, so they can't call your bluff almost, And that's just terrible the worst advice you could possibly use. You want to pick someone or align yourself with someone with similar interests, but also be flexible enough that you can pick a project that they're excited about and that you're excited about too.
I think somebody's typing a question.
That was Fred just
Was that
leaving.
Morse? Was that Morse code?
Somebody's calling for help.
From the fifth dimension, it's interstellar, bookcase.
Related to Casey's question, it seems a lot of people in the department come in with a lot of interests. And you've kind of touched on how you narrowed that, but did you have any specific advice on how to find what you're really passionate about? When you have so many interests and the intersection is so big, it's, I think, hard for a lot of students to actually pick, oh, I want to do this or this or this.
I'm going to request that Bob responds to this question too after everyone else has.
So not everyone can do this, but ask your spouse. This was actually really helpful for me. I talked to my wife about this, and she was able to like point out immediately the things I was interested in. And she was like, well, you did this and this, and you seem like you're interested in that. And thought about it for a second, I was like, you're right, why didn't I just like realize that? But with that perspective of someone who was close to me, who was watching what I was doing and what I talk about and how I talk about things, that perspective was invaluable.
Yeah, I've had similar conversations with my wife. I come home and she'd say, you know, you're really excited when you finish doing this and not so excited when you come home after you've done this. So that kind of helps you know where your passion is.
My wife used the word geeky. What gets you geeky? So you're looking for the things that people know you. Look at the things that get you to turn you into a geek.
I've been completely unsuccessful in narrowing. And so my advice was perhaps you should finish and do some work.
Bad advice either.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to look for things where if you are like me, and most people I think can find something that they really like to do, and I'm probably the exception that I like to do many things, but if you can find something where those things overlap, so like Michael was saying, a lot of times if you get a job doing something like a CTL job, you can also teach some classes, and I really like teaching, I really like doing design, so applying for jobs and finding places where those things overlap, that's part of the reason why I've been drawn to the library field, is there's a lot of things that overlap in that field that I can be involved in as far as curriculum design, teaching classes, but also enabling informal learning to happen. So looking for places where many of your interests come together if you have many interests, but you'll never find a place where all of them come together, so get some hobby.
I heard a great quote today where they said there's two types of articles, perfect articles and completed articles. And I think the same thing can be applied for dissertations. You know, there are perfect dissertations and completed dissertations. So I think you really, and a lot of those perspectives, your committee is trying to help you. And a lot of times they're trying to tell you to scale back or change your focus. And I think you really need to trust your committee. They've been there. They're not trying to make things harder for you or anything. They just want what's best for you. So really trust that they're gonna help you out.
I'll say that something that's been helpful for me is to do a lot of reading and a lot of writing. But
I've never heard that one.
what I mean by that is I like to read lots of things because I'm interested in a lot of things, and so I keep PDFs of all this stuff in my Mendeley folder, and as I'm trying to organize them, I find out that my folder on this topic is huge. My folder on this topic is like, you know, like there's nothing really there. And so I can kind of see myself in my article organization, but I can also look back on notes that I've written to myself I leave notes for myself sometimes, I write down things, I empty my head sometimes into a Google Doc. And so if I have lots of Google Docs on a certain subject or hovering around a certain area, and I come back to them somewhat regularly, or there are certain articles that I just love to read, and I love what it says, and it's in a topic in a folder that's huge, then I know that it's something that I care about. Usually, I'm pretty good at identifying what I care about, but then it's picking which one to focus on, which one to kind of run with. And that is the tough call, that's commitment time and everything. But if you care enough, then you'll do it. What I mean by you'll do it is, you'll make it work. Yeah, well, I'll leave it at that. That's not. I want to hear from Jackie and Bob still.
I usually compare my experience to the Wrong Roads Mormon message from Elder Holland, where I write like a 2-page proposal of what I want to do, go in that direction for a little bit, and realize I don't like this as much as I thought, or for some reason things just don't work out. And I've had that happen like 4 times, picking my dissertation topic. But I think something that's really helped so far is just taking classes that are very different than where I feel comfortable. So I hadn't done design in like 3 years. And I'm in advanced instructional design right now, and that helped me realize, hey, I love doing this museum stuff, it's really fun. So that's kind of helped me to go in that direction, and now I'm still pursuing different things that I can do. Just get out of here.
For me, it's been a long, windy road deciding what I want to do. My undergrad was in neuroscience, and I guess I'll give you the brief version of my story, but I think my advice would be, if you have a lot of interest, jump in doing something that is related to one or all of your interests, and you won't really know if you like it or not until you're doing it, or you're more involved than you currently are. So I was in a neuroscience research lab, and I was in an infant psychology research lab, and they were interesting to me, but I didn't love them, and so I thought maybe I'll go to med school, and so I shadowed pediatricians, and I did Spanish interpreting at the Utah Surgical Center. But it was interesting, but I didn't love it enough to devote my life to it, so I've always been interested in learning and memory, and so I found out about the IP&T program, and so I met with a bunch of the faculty, and then I was a Muir undergraduate researcher with Charles, and then was involved with projects with his other grad students, and realized that I liked some of the things they were doing more than others, and then there were different opportunities that presented themselves. So just by being involved, I was able to determine what I was more interested in and what I didn't really want to do. I think that's my advice.
Just got an honorary seat on the panel.
Someone asked,
Okay, last question.
someone asked online, how do you balance schoolwork, church, and family responsibilities?
You can't ask us that.
You don't. You don't. You just
Thank Carolyn.
juggling. Half the balls fall on the ground and keep picking them up.
I have no children. I mean, that made it. Jackie pointed it, the family did all together. So, no, I can't speak for people who have children because my hat goes off to you guys because I don't know how you do it.
You have 5.
But you be organized. Like, time. So Casey's, I think, been really good at kind of setting up his boundaries, and it's something that I've learned. Like, he comes to school and he works, and when he goes home, he's with his boy and his wife, and so it's something that I've tried to kind of work on, is setting up the boundaries of when I'm doing work and when I'm not doing work. And yeah, my family situation made kind of a shift at the end of last semester, and been trying to compensate for that and figure out how to make timing and stuff work with that. But Dr. Graham gave us some really good advice our first semester. Well, I'm speaking of us, like those of us who were in 564 that semester. He said, you set your priorities, and if, like, your family should be top and graduate school should be important, but if you have to make some sacrifices in terms of you don't always get 100% on every assignment or every paper. It's okay, and that kind of gave me some relief because it made me feel like I can still do well at grad school and not be perfect. And I'm kind of perfectionist in the way that I go about my schooling, and that has made it easier for me to balance to say, okay, my family is the priority, and it comes here, and things ebb and flow. Sometimes you do it. So for a while during the program, I was elder school president, and I had a stronger focus on church. And now I'm a nursery leader, and so that doesn't require as much time outside of church. It's crazy while I'm there, but it doesn't take away a lot of time from my instructional design. So it's good.
If all of you are going to respond, I'm going to restrict your response to 30 seconds. I know it's already a tough question, so good luck. Does anyone else want to take a quick response?
I try to do school and work during the work day hours. When I come home in the evening, I'm with my wife and my kids. Once my kids go to bed, if I have homework or other work that I need to do, then I do it. If I don't, that's awesome. So it's the same basic idea, it's just the execution is always going to vary and be different. Yeah, that's all.
I'll say, focus on what you want to get out of your classes, not the A. And then you'll find the balance a little bit easier.
You want people not to get A. You're discouraging A.
I have several A minuses, and even a B plus from seminar, I think. Importance, sorry. No, those quizzes.
Jared, did you have a quick thought, or?
Go to JDogs more often, you'll miss it.
I'm not married, so I don't have a lot to say about the balance of family thing, but I'm trying to just take time for myself, and so I dropped a class this semester, which was a big act of courage, but I felt like it would help me be not so crazy, so.
All right, let's give these guys